Welcome back to Gaming in the Basement with Rockagoth. If this is your first time listening, welcome. Before we get started for this episode, we managed to snag ourselves a sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Nostalgia Tech. Ever miss that 90s smell? Do you wish you could have that 90s smell available to you in a small, portable container? Well, you're in luck. Nostalgia Tech presents 90s in a Can. They've partnered with Coke Classic to keep your 90s air fresh in a vintage Coke can. First 90 orders get a special edition 1998 Nagano Olympics Coca-Cola can. Get yours today and stay fresh. For today's episode, I'm here with Brandon from Magic Ninja Robot. Magic Ninja Robot is a group of 4 streamers who stream on separate days and separate genres, but come together on Saturday to do a podcast together on Twitch. Could you give me a brief general introduction about who you are?
My name is Brandon. I'm about 37. I'm about to be 38 in a few weeks. And I am currently living in Texas, although not a fan down here, but here I am.
Are you from Texas? Were you born and raised there?
I'm from Ohio. Cleveland, Ohio, of all places. I moved down here because my wife's family's in Mexico, so we moved to be closer to them.
So are you in the city or are you out?
I'm out in Houston.
Oh,
Out in
okay.
Houston. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard Houston's pretty nice. Eh, eh. Well, the food's got to be good, right? No. No?
Like, unless
Alright.
you like the Cajun style food, which apparently all of Houston is obsessed with Cajun. And that's like, I came down here like, all right, I'm going to be down here. Hey, at least I get some barbecue because you think in Texas barbecue.
That's
it's
what I
like,
would think.
yeah, no, you're not wrong. And it's like, nope, it's actually like 99% Cajun. Like the couple of places that we found that are actually like barbecue are like chain restaurants.
Oh, that's just disappointing.
Yeah. And I was like, oh, because I'm not a
Yeah, I
seafood
mean,
guy.
that would have been my reaction. So you said you're more of a seafood guy?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
No, you're not.
Yeah. It's like, oh, so, well, that's a thing.
So it's like
But
Cajun seafood mostly?
yeah, I mean,
Oh,
there's some like a Cajun pasta I don't mind, stuff like that. Tex-Mex is actually probably more prominent down here.
oh, okay. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I guess I could see that. Yeah.
yeah, but you would think it'd be more Mexican. I mean, we know a couple of Mexican joints that are good, obviously. I mean, but yeah, no, it was surprising to me. Like there is probably a better food scene in Cleveland, Ohio than there is here, and I'm pretty sure there's people knocking at our door right now. Like, how could you say that?
So there's a food scene in Cleveland. I have follow-up questions, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
no, that's fine. Michael, what's his name? Michael Simon. If you know who that is, he's from Cleveland, and that's Lola. That is the big restaurant he made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and so he's got a lot of stuff over there. Yeah, Cleveland is like if you go there, there's like apparently a very underrated food scene in downtown because, yeah, and then it's like hole in the wall joints and stuff like that. I think we were talking on your Tekken stream, like I was around like a bunch of pizza joints that were just like,
Yeah, that's right.
it's one of and the one that's like the world champion is literally a hole in the wall in the middle of like BFE.
That's interesting. I mean, do you think it is it because of the colleges around?
No,
No.
and there's no colleges around it. It's just a small town, and it's right on a main street. You drive right by it, you wouldn't even know if you didn't know. Yeah,
Well,
so that's a thing.
if I ever happen by
Oh,
Cleveland,
yeah, let me
Ohio.
know. I will hook you up. I'll tell you all the good places.
Oh yeah, I need to know. Like the locals always know the best places to go
Yeah.
for sure.
Another one that's popular over in Cleveland is Melt, which is like they took the grilled cheese and just applied it to a bunch of sandwiches, and they're like massive. Like I think one has like mozzarella sticks inside the grilled cheese with a bunch of other stuff. Like it's insane.
Oh God, don't even get me started on melted cheese. Like anything with melted cheese, like that's my weakness.
Oh, you will love that place then.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, and they're big sandwiches, boy.
I bet. I
Yeah,
bet.
now I'm getting hungry. So let's move on to another thing.
I want a really messy grilled cheese sandwich now. All right, so Brendan, how long have you been gaming for?
So I was born in '85, so the number I couldn't tell. I think I was 3 when it started because I remember vividly my sister talking about she wanted to get a Nintendo, and this is like I want to say like 3 or 4 year old me that had no concept of video games, and she was talking about like I want the thing with the zapper that goes like this, and next thing I know, we're at Toys R Us buying a Nintendo, and so the rest is history. Like one of the
Okay.
first games I played was I think Mario Brothers and then Duck Hunt because that was the 2 we had. And I was like, "Oh, this is kind of a cool system." And then I was like, "Wait, there's more that I can get more things for this. Why have you not told me?" And from there, it snowballed.
Yeah, I had NES was my first system too, and I had the Duck Hunt, Super Mario, and the Power Pad.
I didn't have the power pad. I just had the zapper. I also played on an Atari back in the day that I
Oh,
somehow
did you?
managed. Yeah, I somehow managed to break that because it was like I think my sister, she was a teenager at the time. I'm the youngest of 6. Her boyfriend would play like a Nintendo, and I wanted to play. And my dad's like, "Well, here, take this Atari and play this." So naturally, I broke that, then I got a Game Boy, so I'm not really sure if that was an upgrade or a downgrade.
I mean, the Game Boy had a lot of awesome games on
Oh,
it
yeah.
that time.
Actually, I
Yeah.
couldn't play that thing for the longest time, and I actually so that was the Game Boy that came with the Tetris pack, you know what
Yeah,
I'm
I
talking
got
about?
that one too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was a point where it's like, I literally could not play that thing because my siblings would play Tetris, that I purposely lost the Tetris game just so I could actually play the damn thing. I was like, "I wanna play Tetris." It's like, "Well, that's mine." It's like, "Well, tough shit, it's mine." But yeah, then I just like, I think we were on a trip or something, and I just magically moved it somewhere, and we lost it, and they got pissed, and here I am playing my crappy version of RoboCop after that, happy as a clam on the car.
I used to love
So
Dr. Mario for Game Boy.
yeah, I don't think we got that one. I think a friend
Yeah.
of mine had that on Nintendo, but, yeah, I played a lot of games. Like, I remember to play Mortal Kombat, like, back in the day, because my parents were actually parents that paid attention to, like, when games were violent, and they're like, "You can't get this game," and my father's logic was, "Why are you gonna play this game? If you play this game and somebody rips the spine out of somebody and you walk down the street, that's casual to you. That's not right." I'm like, "That's not gonna happen in
And
real
that's
life."
not
Like,
gonna happen.
you're not for thinking that years later, like, "Wait a minute, what if that's gonna happen? We're in a good spot." So, a friend of mine, his brother had a Genesis, so we would just, like, sneak into his room and play, like, Genesis Mortal Kombat, which was the better version anyway because it had all the blood and everything. So, yeah, we got around on those things. I remember first couple of years of my life, the Nintendo was the one, then it sort of branched off because friends had other ones. But I also I played arcade games. I was a big arcade rat back in my young days, like, my dad just standing there like, "What are we doing this for?"
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, the arcade scene used to be
Oh.
huge. I feel like it's making a comeback though.
Yeah, if you're into liquor.
If you're what?
Into liquor, because a lot of the arcades are, like, liquor stores now, because like, Dave& and Buster's, stuff like that, like, I'm talking the
Oh,
hole-in-the-wall
yeah, I see what you're
arcade.
saying.
Yeah, I'm talking that's where I played, like, I was in those places that so one of the memories I have is Street Fighter II back
Okay.
in the day, and here's little kid me playing, and I think I was playing as, like, E Honda or something, and these guys are just like this is the arcades where it's like, kids should not be in, but it was like that code of like, "Well, we can't do anything, we can't bet because it's a kid, and we just kinda humor him." And
Yeah.
the guy even going like, "Here, just hit this button." Like, he was about to kick the crap out of me, but
No.
he was like, "I'm gonna at least show you something so you could get better down the road," and
Well, that was nice at least. I
yeah, and then it's
mean,
like, "Okay, now get out of here, go play something else."
yeah,
So,
I'm guessing they didn't have many cabinets then.
I think there was one and I was in a little small town in Ohio, like, this was like a mall situation, and you know how those go,
Yeah.
but it was one of those, and it's like every so often you get into something like that, like, I never felt unsafe in there, and it's like, my parents would leave me in there, so it wasn't a danger thing, but it was like, that you learn later on in life, like, there were some gambling or something, like, I can kick your butt for $100 or something like that, those type of things going on, and when I was a kid, they were just kinda like, "Ah, just humor him, he'll be out of here in a minute. Okay, now back to this."
Well, that's good that
So
they left you alone, let you
oh,
play.
yeah, but, no, I fundamentally miss arcades, I really do miss
I
those. There's
yeah.
an experience that there's a lot of people that don't understand that there was an experience, there was, like, a community, kinda like what Twitch is trying to do, I
Yeah.
feel, that now is like yeah. But that was the arcade back in the day before we had internet. That's right, there was a time, children, where internet did not exist.
Yeah, it's hard to think back on those days,
It
but
really, really is.
it's so weird. I'm just like, how did we used to live without the internet?
I remember days where it was like I would just play outside and, like, I had video games, and that's, like, what, 92 or 93, and that's, like, I think back now, it's like my nephews and kids that were born after that don't like, kids born in 92 don't understand that. That's the funny thing to me, like, there was a time where you had to find stuff to do to kill 8 hours in a day and then go home.
Yeah.
Just or anime, there's another one. Think about all the stuff with anime and, like, streaming that has happened where it was like, back in the day, we had to dig up stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a amazing time we're in, and it's one that, we should relish.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Like, when I was a kid, I would have never thought things would be the way they are now,
I don't
especially
think
with
anybody would have.
yeah, yeah. I remember anime when I was a kid, like, it would come on very early. It was just Sailor Moon.
You would get up
Uh,
oh, yeah, my wife was in the same boat with, Mexico. I remember, Ronin Warriors. When I was on summer vacation back in the day, I would be up at, like, 4 o'clock in the morning because I couldn't remember what time it was on, so I was like, "Well, I'm just gonna stay up and just kinda watch it and then fall back asleep."
yeah.
So, yeah, back in the day, we had to really work to get our anime.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
So, how did you come up with the name Magic Ninja Robot?
I think it was more it's a word salad. That is very much a case of that. So my wife is obviously, I said Sailor Moon. She's into magical girls and all that stuff. So that hardcore anime, and she likes the fantasy. I'm not. I'm more sci-fi.
Hmm.
So that's where the robot would come from. And the ninja is, well, I've done martial arts since I was like 15, and we kind of watched the anime and all that stuff as we were talking about. So it was just kind of like, let's just put three words together. It's sort of like if you ever saw the TV show The Expanse on Amazon or Sci-Fi when it was on there, the production company was called Penguin in a Parka, and I just found that amusing name, and I was just like, I want to come up with something really stupid like that, and the end result is this.
I think it's a really cool name. It's very dynamic.
It's very off the top of my head, and like I said, it's like I think on our Twitter bio, I even said it's like the result of a word salad of a sentient robot having access to magic and ninjutsu skills.
Yeah, I mean, I think it sounds awesome.
It
But can you
definitely
tell?
sticks in your head.
Yeah, it really does, and it's really easy to say. It's really easy to remember. It's like great Twitch
I mean,
name.
yeah, I use the sub thing now of MNR because it's like sometimes you just want to say all those words, but it's like you kind of associate that with that. So it's sort of like our sub branding.
Okay. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. So it's like when I use like if you saw on our Twitter accounts, I always say like, we're on live right now on MNR. You know what it is because I'm kind of trying to get that out there.
Yeah.
And also it's like if we have to do a website or something down the road. It's very easy to get that if an alternative.
Can you
So
tell me a bit about how Magic Ninja Robot started?
So it kind of came about because my wife Illy has been doing streaming for a little longer than I have. I would say she started doing it towards the middle of last year, and I was never really big into streaming stuff. Like I always was kind of like when you see streams of games, I was like, why am I going to watch people play them when I could just play them myself? I wish in my 20s I had some thought in my brain because it's like I could have turned that into a marketing tool. Just I was too stupid to think about it, but I was just trying to live at that point.
Hmm.
And she started doing it, and I was kinda like, "Well, you should do this, and maybe you should do that." And then it's got to the point where she was doing it, and I'm like, "Alright, I guess I kinda wanna do this, but I don't wanna do it myself." And she's like, "Well, I'm using a PNG tuber," or I think she was working on a VTuber at that point, like, she has, like, a VTuber rigged up. And, we use PNG tubers, as you no doubt saw when we do the podcast or our characters are on there. And, it's more I'm not against putting my face on the screen, but I feel like it's sort of breaking for if you're a pro wrestling fan, it's like breaking kayfabe. It's like breaking the illusion. And if you're gonna do that, you should do that when important things are about to happen. So it's got some seriousness to it. It's not just like, oh, it's just him being stupid again. But it's like, the PNGer is like our character and our story. But if I have to come on and explain something and it's actually me, this is actually something very important that's about to happen.
Yeah, that really makes sense. It just really emphasizes how important it is if you're there talking.
Well, also, it's like it's privacy too. Like we
Yeah.
really don't generally we kind of keep our lives to ourselves. I mean, we talk about our lives, but we don't want to be like attacked by somebody in Houston for something I said on a show. But we started talking about it, and then that's where it kind of evolved from. And then we're like, well, how are we going to do this? I think what it was I was considering doing like a WordPress blog or something, and we were looking at websites. And I'm like, well, let's use this name, which is the name I told you about earlier,
Yeah.
and then from there, it's sort of I feel like we did step 4 when we should have said steps 1 through 3 first, but we're working backwards to set it up at that point.
Yeah.
Like,
I
we're getting
mean,
very ambitious, and it just didn't work out that way. Here we are.
yeah. I mean, there's no guidebooks on how you
Oh,
should
there
start
isn't.
out and
No.
stuff. I mean, it
No,
just
and
kind of happened.
and from that, it's so the original plan was there's gonna be, me and Illy, and we started doing this podcast, and it's like, "Okay, we're doing good here, but we could add a little more." And there was a very short list of people I knew personally from my life that I want to include, and one of them was Spaiku. And the other one was Vash, as you eventually saw when we came out to this.
Mhm.
And I decided on Spaiku first because me and Vash go back a long way. And we had dinner once, and my wife was sitting there, and we just went off on tangents about Star Trek that she's like, I got no idea what the hell you two are talking about. And to be diplomatic, I was like, well, Spaiku is more of a horror bend, and my wife is too. So at least we'll have somebody to counterbalance. You can talk about my stuff and your stuff. And that's where Spaiku came into play.
Okay.
And then we got Vash in just because we wanted to round out to 4 and we thought a dynamic was in place, and here we are.
Oh, that's really cool. So you kind of balance each other out.
That's my intent, like, so I'm obviously a console gamer, as you've no doubt seen, like, I'm the console guy, Ilya is too, we're on the PlayStation and the Switch. Vash is predominantly Xbox, he's a huge Halo nut. I think he's jaded about that, but I think right now he's trying to find where he's going with that, and Spaiku is our PC, tabletop, sort of our correspondent in those things, and he's obviously our horror expert because that's what he plays on Monday nights usually is horror things, and then Thursdays he does a random thing.
I was just gonna say, it sounds really well-rounded. You get a little bit of everything in there.
That's the intent, and I'm still trying to figure out where I'm going on my end because it's like I have a lot of interest, obviously, and the biggest problem I'm having is finding my voice when it comes to streaming. Like, because, like I said, this streaming character is a character, so it's like it's very hard for me to get a character because I'm always me.
Yeah.
Like everybody always jokes, it's like I get pushed to anger, and I kind of lean into that a little bit for joke purposes. I mean, I try to be a mellow guy. That laugh you hear in the background is my wife, actually, talking about hearing that, and just like that is so much shit. It's not even funny.
I can't even hear
Um,
her though, but that's funny.
yeah, no, but I'm being facetious. But like everybody always joked, like I'm the angry Irishman. Like my descent is Irish German, so I'm like the Super Saiyan of anger at this point. Is the joke. And I try to be laid back, and, like, when we're on the show, I try to kinda keep that balance, like, I'm the guy kinda steering the ship. If anything, our podcast, I liken it to since I was in radio, there's 2 people that I kind of view as, like, guideposts. One of them is Howard Stern, because he blazed a trail for everybody. I don't care who you are, even in podcasting, nobody wants to admit it, but a lot of us would not be into this if it wasn't for Stern. Because he set the sort of, like, talk show format for that generation, and we've all followed since. The other one, because apparently I did not find this out until 3 weeks ago. VTubers and PNG tubers have to have origin stories.
Really?
I
I
did not
didn't know
know this. I'm
that.
like, I didn't know that either, but it's like an unwritten rule. I'm like, oh, okay. So I took my laptop to work one day and wrote up this just quick 3-page document of silly, where it's like the best way I could describe it is UHF from the 1990s, if you watch that movie. And so that's where I kind of lead into the like the setting of Magic Ninja Robot is we found a random television station, me and my wife, and we found that it's degraded, it's been condemned, but they left all the audio equipment inside there. So all of our graphics packages, all of our equipment is DIY, very do it yourself, very winged. And that's why when you see some of the stuff like, we did a pilot for a show last Sunday called The Half-Ass Show,
Okay.
and it's very much a this has been left alone for a long time. Like there's a cross that used to be there. You can see where the outline of it was. We found a bunch of like boxes just sitting there. That's our purpose table. And the graphics package we have for that is like very like very VCR-ish. And the song is like from the 90s, it sounds like. It all kind of plays into that. We're working with what we have. And Twitch decided, good idea to make you guys a network affiliate. And we're like, what now? So now we're trying to figure out how to stream, and that's where this is going.
Oh, wow, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's an interesting story.
It's just that I told the guys, like, "Don't even worry about like, you don't have to keep, like, hate or anything like that with it. It's just apparently we needed an origin story, and I was bored enough to do it."
It's coming along for sure.
Yeah, I also have, like, for when I eventually get going on my streams full time, I actually have a overlay done where it's like it looks like a Windows 95 computer program. Like, I somehow rigged up a camera with a recording thing where my picture is, and all the screens, all the boxes are like, old Windows, like the videogame.exe is on the top, so it's like you can stream from that, and it's like I'm overloading this computer.
That's really cool.
Yeah, yeah, but it's when we started building this channel, it was very much a do-it-yourself sort of punk rock mentality. That's why the logo of Magic Ninja Robot looks like it is. It's just it was made up on the fly. It's very my wife can do a lot better, and I know she wants to. She's chomping at the bit. I'm like, "No, keep it as that because that works for what we're doing."
I mean, I really like your
Yeah,
logo.
and the logo has a name that is unofficially Daisy.
Daisy,
You get that
okay.
reference. If you get that reference, you know movies.
Oh, yeah, I don't get it, but did you wanna talk about it more?
2001 no, 2001, that's all. It's like, if you know 2001, like the Daisy,
Oh,
Daisy.
okay.
Yeah, so that was just it just came up the top of my head. There's no, like, deep thought root stories, it's just whatever I thought on the second is pretty much the end result of this channel.
I mean, that's kinda cool because there's, like, this energy and unexpectedness to it.
Well, that's another thing, it's like, I like having the spontaneity, I like improvisation, and that's also where it's like, I'm having a problem when I'm streaming because I mean, I've seen you do it. You have a very talkative streaming style when you do it, and I get so focused in the game because I grew up as the youngest of 6, and I was kinda by myself most of the time, so it's like, I'm thinking in my head, and I have to learn to project that through in my mouth,
Yeah.
and that's probably the hardest part is just trying to interact with the game, and I'm trying to sort of do, like, a Mystery Science Theater riff tracks type thing, just more improvised, where it's like I'm trying to kinda make a comment a minute, I think is what they say when they do it. It's like they wanna kinda do a riff every 2 or 3 minutes, sort of like that, just to kinda keep people aware I'm there. but also let the movie speak. So I'm trying to apply that to gaming and varying success.
Yeah, I mean, it's a skill for sure. It's very hard to, you know, keep
Yeah.
engaging yourself with the audience while trying to be skillful at what you're doing.
Well, it's not so much that. It's not so much engaging with the audience. That's not a problem. It's just nobody shows up, but you have to make it look like it. So that's where I'm having the
I
problem.
see, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like when you have chatters, oh, it makes life so much easier. Or if you have a person to bounce off of, because I know one of the questions you want to ask me was, have we done streams together? And my wife and I have. We played Ninja Turtles, the Shredder's Revenge together, and a couple other games. But it's like, I know I can bounce off with each other, but it's like, I have to learn to do it by myself also. And that's kind of where I'm having the problem. I'm throwing myself out there intentionally because it's like, I'm going to fail, but I need to improve to fail.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the same with all streamers that, you're starting out and you're trying to kind of figure out like what you're doing and who you are
Yeah.
as far as your stream. I think that'll come with time though.
Oh yeah, it's every week I'm getting better. I mean,
Yeah.
there's some weeks where I get struggle and I get pissed off, but it's like I try to just send it out. It's like Rome wasn't built in a day. You just got to keep moving forward.
That's a nice outlook to have.
Mhm.
So you have a podcast type stream on Saturdays that you kind
Yes,
of touched on a bit about. How did that all start?
that was the original intent of the channel, and the name of that we didn't have a name for the longest time. Actually, my wife and I originally started doing the podcast on her old channel, and then when we started to kind of like, okay, well, this is going to be a thing, and when Magic Ninja Robot was going to be a thing, it's like, okay, well, we're going to move it over to this, so we started doing it there. And that's when we had a Spaiku join us, and we were like, "Well, what are we calling this? What are we calling this?" And I think I just put, much again because I'm random, I just put TBD, to be determined. And the end result of that became, well, that's just going to be the name of the show because I can't think of anything else, and it seems like it clicks with us. So we're just going to call it the TBD podcast, and it's the flagship podcast because everybody has to have a podcast, and I want to be the flagship. That's the joke of the flagship.
I mean, I think it works. You guys have a really good rapport with each other. I got the
Well, we've
opportunity
known
to
each other
go.
for years, and that's part of it. Yeah. Illy is my wife, and she met the other two, obviously, when she met me. But Spaiku and Vash and myself go back to our college
Oh, wow.
days. So
Okay.
they actually, Spaiku and Vash used to do streaming together, but some life events happened that they kind of had to stop. And I brought them in because I was like, I want to help you guys out. You guys you always talk about you want to do it, and I want to kind of help you get back into it. But yeah, we went back in the day. We knew each other back from the day. My wife obviously met them later, and they were doing streaming for a while and they stopped. And I was like, well, why don't you guys come back? You guys can do your thing. And they started to do streams together for a while. And then I think the problem any streamer has, especially when you're starting out and you're trying to start making profit off of this, is your real life comes first and that includes your job. And I don't know if you know, there's a holiday season called Christmas that just really wrecks things.
I might be familiar with it.
Yeah, I think most of our, like, my wife was doing like 10 to 4 a.m. shifts at where her job was. And yeah, she came home, basically slept the day and went back. And, she tried to stream when she could. And then Vash works in a assembly line. So they're doing their thing. I think the only two that actually Spaiku kind of carried us for a while doing his thing, but then his life happened. And then there's me like, well, I'm just trying to figure things out and not break it. So, and then Vash of the year kind of came in clutch and really kind of kept our viewership up so we can kind of keep people going. So, but we're back now. We're ready to go. And so far this month, we've hit the ground running a lot better than I anticipated. And that's all I wanted is I just always want to improve.
Oh, that's excellent. So you kind of mentioned some of the benefits of having like other streamers around to kind of step in when others can't. Are there any like downsides to having more than one person streaming?
From
Mm.
how am I going to explain this? Because it's like, I don't want it to sound bad, but it's like trying to keep everything coordinated. Like, I guess scheduling is a good word for that.
Yeah.
Trying to keep the schedule going because the only person that we technically have that is kind of consistent is actually Spaiku because he has his nights. And like I said, Illy was kind of for a while all over the map because of her work. She's starting to get back into that now, but it's like trying to figure out who's doing what and who's doing where. Like, I know you heard probably last night, if you listen, I always ask my streamers, what are you guys doing this week? It's to kind of let the viewers know what's coming up this week. It's a good plug. And it's also, I was jotting down notes. So when I made the schedule today, I know who's playing what. So I know what I got to put.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then trying to keep all that coordinated, making sure there's no technical issues. Because if there's technical issues, usually Illy, who is I jokingly call designated Roz because she knows all the tech side of this stuff. She's sort of like if you were doing a radio show and I was Fraser Crane, she's the Roz of that.
Oh, okay.
That's where that comes from. And she's like, I gotta keep up on this, and to kind of get everybody stable and understanding the technology so we can take a break when we have our nights off instead of like making sure there's no technical issues. We're getting better at that.
Okay.
But yeah, and also just again trying to find voices, trying to sort of going with things, evolving.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
that does seem like it could be kind of hectic trying to figure out everybody else's stuff plus your own.
This concludes part 1. I hope to see you back next week for part 2. Please go follow Brandon and his crew on Twitch. They're a fun, amazing, and quirky bunch of people. I've really enjoyed my time getting to know them, and I know you will too, so please check them out. There's a link in the description for Magic Ninja Robot, and I also linked his wife Illy if you need any kind of commissioned art. My music today was brought to you by DJ Kern. She's an up-and-coming music producer, so stay tuned for more from her. Thank you guys again for your time and your feedback. For more content, visit my Patreon, link in the description for raw and unedited content. Thanks again so much, and keep gaming.
Look, this is your show, so I'm kind of, it's like if you were in my hands, I would take care of it. So I'm just kind of extending that courtesy. I'm not going to touch. This is unedited. You don't have to worry about that. If whatever I say is what I say, so don't, I trust you.
Okay.